You know that face, the ears drop. The head lowers, the eyes get soft and round. The tail tucks in like the dog is trying to fold itself into the floor. And in that moment, almost every human brain tells the same story. He knows he did something wrong, but the science says something more precise and a lot less romantic. What we call the guilt look is usually not guilt at all. It is communication. It is appeasement. It is a social strategy, and that difference matters. Because guilt in the human sense is not just looking sorry. Guilt is a self-evaluative emotion. It requires a concept of wrongdoing, memory of a rule, and some internal story about the self. Dogs are brilliant social learners, but they are not sitting there writing moral essays in their heads. What they are doing is much more immediate. They are reading the emotional weather in the room. If your voice changes, if your posture stiffens, if your footsteps get sharper, if your face tightens, your dog notices. Fast. Dogs are exceptionally tuned to human signals, and not just the obvious ones. Tone, tension, speed, gaze, body angle, scent. It all matters. So when your dog lowers its body and averts its eyes, that is often not, "I feel ashamed of my choices." It is more like, "I detect conflict. I want to reduce it." That is appeasement behavior. In the wild and in domestic social systems, appeasement is useful. It says, "I am not a threat. Please do not escalate." It lowers pressure. It prevents a fight before it starts. In dogs, you can see it in the softened posture, the tucked tail, the side glance, the lip lick, the slow movement, the crouch. It looks like regret, because to human eyes, regret and submission share a visual language. But visually similar does not mean psychologically identical. This is where people get tripped up. A dog can show the guilty look after the crime. A dog can also show the guilty look before you even know what happened. And a dog can show it when it did absolutely nothing wrong at all. Classic behavioral studies have shown that dogs tend to display those submissive, guilty-looking signals more strongly after their owners scold them, even when the dogs did not actually break the rule. In other words, the expression is often triggered less by the act itself and more by the human reaction. That is the key. The guilty look is often not a confession. It is a response to us. Think about what is happening from the dog's side. The dog did a thing. Maybe it stole food. Maybe it shredded a pillow. Maybe it got into the trash. Then you walk in. Your tone changes. Your energy changes. The dog does not need a philosophy degree to detect that something important is happening. It sees tension and predicts consequences. That prediction is what shapes the body. And now the picture becomes much clearer. The tucked tail is not moral sorrow. It is a lowered conflict signal. The lowered ears are not a courtroom verdict. They are a social cue. The averted gaze is not inner shame. It is de-escalation. The dog is not saying, "I feel bad because I broke the rules of the universe." The dog is saying, "I can tell you are upset, and I would like this moment to get safer." That is a very different emotional mechanism. There is also a deeper evolutionary reason this behavior exists at all. Dogs did not evolve alongside humans by accident. They evolved with us. For thousands of years, the dogs that were better at reading human intention, better at responding to human tone, and managing human conflict had an advantage. They survived better in our world because they were more socially fluent in our species. So over time, dogs became experts at us. That means the guilty look is not random. It is part of a long co-evolutionary relationship between two species that became unusually good at reading each other. Human beings, for our part, are wired to react strongly to facial expressions. We see lowered eyes and a tucked body, and our brains immediately want a moral narrative. It feels like remorse because remorse is a deeply human social signal. We are built to respond to it. But the dog is operating on a different layer. Not morality. Social regulation. Not shame. Conflict management. And that distinction is not just academic. It changes how you should respond. Because if you punish the guilty look itself, you teach the dog something you do not want to teach. You do not teach honesty. You teach caution. You teach the dog that your anger is unpredictable. You teach it to become more anxious. You teach it to become more guarded and sometimes even less likely to approach you when something goes wrong. That is why punishment often makes the emotional expression stronger, not better. The dog learns that your arrival after a mistake predicts stress, so the appeasement gets bigger, faster, and more dramatic. In other words, the look can become trained. not because the dog is manipulating you in some evil mastermind way, because the dog is learning. And learning is what dogs do best. So what should you do instead? First, separate the behavior from the emotion. If your dog stole food, focus on management. Close the access. Train the leave it and drop it cues. Reinforce calm behavior. Make the right choice easier than the wrong one. Second, pay attention to your own signal. If your tone is turning into thunder, your dog is not going to learn a lesson about morality. It is going to learn that the room just became dangerous. Third, remember that the guilt look is not the same in every dog. Some dogs are more expressive. Some are more stoic. Some have been punished enough that they show appeasement quickly. Others have different temperaments, different histories, different levels of confidence. The absence of the guilty look does not mean the dog is indifferent, and the presence of it does not mean the dog is morally aware in the human sense. It means the dog is socially smart. That is the real story. The guilty look is not a tiny human soul trapped inside a dog face. It is a canine social response to pressure, tension, and the possibility of conflict. And honestly, that makes it more interesting, not less, because it means your dog is not pretending to feel human regret. It is doing something much more ancient, much more practical, and much more beautiful. It is trying to keep the peace. So the next time your dog gives you that face, don't rush to the moral story. Look at the behavior for what it is. A body saying, I see you, I feel the shift, I would like this to calm down. That is the science of the guilty look. And once you see it that way, you stop asking whether your dog feels guilt like you do. You start asking a better question. What is my dog trying to tell me right now? And that is where real understanding begins. If you want more behavioral science behind the strange familiar things dogs do every day, stay with Canine Psychology.